Welcome to Reading and Writing Skills, Patterns of Development in Writing Across Disciplines, featuring exemplification and classification pattern in writing a paragraph. Second semester, quarter 3, week 1. I am Mr. Nelpon Sambalod and I'm your teacher for this course. Looking at the image, you are being given idea that the next pattern of paragraph that we will be tackling has something to do with grouping of ideas. Just like the image itself, you have here the topic, subtopic, subtopic, and under each we have categories. Let's figure out how is that image really related to lesson 4. Lesson 4, exemplification and classification. In the previous lessons, you have learned the differences between and among narrative, descriptive, and definition paragraphs. Now you will familiarize yourself with two of the most common patterns of paragraph development, exemplification and classification. What's new? Read the passage carefully. Once finished, copy on a separate sheet and fill out the table with appropriate words that match the headings below. Humans are often harmed by pollution. The presence of the hazardous substances brought about by these three major types of pollution, land, air, and water, gravely affects our health. For instance, a person may acquire skin problems and other deformities from the toxic waste present in the land that we live in, such as garbage, pesticides, heavy metals, and other chemicals. Air pollution caused by toxic gases, solid and liquid particles or aerosols, and other hazardous air pollutants adversely contaminate the air that we breathe. Long-term exposure to air pollutants has been linked with diseases of the heart and lungs, cancers, and other health problems. Lastly, water pollution observed in our primarily water sources like oceans, rivers, and lakes is caused by the presence of industrial waste, sewage, and wastewaters, chemical fertilizers, and pesticides to be specific. Infectious diseases can be acquired through contaminated water and can cause cholera, jaundice, liver damage, and stomach illness in people. As said in the instruction, let us accomplish the table. So the topic sentence would be humans are often harmed by pollution. Now, as what is being said in the definition of exemplification or classification paragraph, it should have three basic parts. The first one is the topic sentence or classification. It's possible that we do not have there the topic sentence itself, just like the humans are often harmed by pollution. It can be classification. Maybe what we can have there, the three types of deadliest pollution. Okay, so you have their classification. The topic itself presents a classification. Okay, next we have here the classification for pollution, as what is mentioned in the paragraph. It talks about the different kinds of pollution. So we are going to have here land, air, and water. Okay? Then we have here the examples. So the second part of an exemplification or classification paragraph, you have there the examples or illustrations. So under examples, we have here the examples of hazardous substances under each classification. So for the land pollution, we have here garbage, pesticides, heavy metals, and other chemicals. For air pollution, we have toxic gases, solid and liquid particles or aerosols, and hazardous air pollutants. Under water pollution, we have here industrial waste, sewage, and wastewaters, chemical, fertilizers, and pesticides. Okay? Then, of course, for the transitional expressions, we have the for instance and lastly. Okay? So let's continue. Study the accomplished table. How can you say that the words and phrases that you have just written all exemplify that of the topic sentence, classification, examples, and transition words? Of course, for topic sentence, we can say that It is indeed a topic sentence because it's the one being talked about in the paragraph. And of course, you have there the knowledge of picking the topic sentence, having in mind that it can be found at the beginning, middle, or end, or sometimes it is implied that you are the one who's going to provide for it. Anyway, it is what? It is in the paragraph, and you have to construct the topic sentence. Next, classification. So you have there the idea of classification pertaining to the types of pollution. And for examples, you have there the grouping of idea under under each class of pollution and the hazardous substances that lead to such. Okay? Then for the transition words, of course, you have the knowledge of the transitional devices. You were exposed to the table pertaining to the commonly used transitional devices or transitional words. Okay, if you were able to justify your answers, then you are now ready to learn more about the characteristics and features of exemplification and classification as patterns of development in writing. What is it? Exemplification or illustration is the most common and effective pattern to explain an idea or point. In developing this kind of paragraph, the writer develops a general statement, the topic sentence, with one or more examples to support it. Just like the picture there, parts of a paragraph. So for you not to forget what is an exemplification type of paragraph, have in mind that image of burger associated with what are the parts of a paragraph because the parts of a paragraph itself are the things that you can see in an exemplification paragraph, wherein it has a topic sentence, supporting details, of course, concluding sentence, and of course, the use of transitional expressions in it. Okay? So, here are some transitional expressions. Meaning to say, whenever you see any of these transitional expressions in a paragraph, then you're being given a hint that you are being exposed to exemplification type of paragraph. Okay? So what are those transitional expressions? We have, for instance, namely, to be specified, to clarify, to illustrate, for example, in short, as an example. So you see, people, by just making yourself aware of the transitional devices present in a paragraph, you can classify whether a paragraph belongs under narration paragraph, definition paragraph, descriptive paragraph, or description paragraph, and exemplification or classification. Okay? So it's very important that you make yourselves aware of the transitional expressions. So that's the definition of exemplification paragraph. On the other hand, classification is used when a writer needs to sort out or arrange subjects to groups or categories based on their common and shared characteristics. Just like what I mentioned when I discussed the paragraph, it's possible that the topic sentence communicates classification of ideas. Instead of saying the hazardous pollutions to health, we can just say what the types, we can just say types of pollution. Then as you go on with the paragraph, you will be discussing each pollution, okay, each type of pollution. So here are some transitional expressions in writing effective classification paragraphs. Classified as one kind, the last group, another kind, another, final type, the first category are categorized as the next part. So as you make yourself aware that those are examples of transitional expressions under classification type of paragraph, then whenever you are dealing with a paragraph consisting any of those transitional expressions, then you can instantly say that it is a classification type of paragraph. So again, just like the exemplification type of paragraph, your paragraph will have a topic sentence, supporting details, transitional expressions, and concluding statement. But what makes it a classification paragraph is that you will notice that you have there sorting, the sorting, the arranging, the grouping, the categorizing of ideas in the paragraph that you are dealing. So just always study the structure and the context of the paragraph. Then it will tell you what kind of paragraph you are dealing with, aside from knowing the transitional devices present in that paragraph. Okay? So remember that you can use both exemplification and classification in developing a paragraph by simply identifying categories on a particular subject and providing examples or illustrations to explain and clarify meaning. So the one that we read dealing with the pollutions is a good example of a paragraph wherein exemplification and classification are combined. So it's possible that what? That the paragraph is a combination of the two. Okay? So you have there the topic sentence, you have there the supporting details, wherein the supporting details are being grouped, are being classified. You have the pollutions, and examples are provided, and of course you have the transitional devices or expressions, and of course topics, concluding sentence or concluding statement. Sometimes we do not have it, but as we end the paragraph we know that it is what the end part of the paragraph. Okay, wherein the readers can what can determine that it is the end of the paragraph because that is the last in the list, in the last in the list of what you have classified or grouped in the paragraph. Okay? So that's why if you notice that paragraph example has no concluding statement, but instead you have there the last example of pollution being discussed in the paragraph, completing the idea that is being delivered in it. Okay? So look at that image. You have the what? You have there a school of fish, just like in the exemplification or classification paragraph. You should be able to what to group your ideas. You have to be able to classify your ideas, and the three fish there that serve as tail can be considered as the topic sentence. Anyway, a topic sentence can be found at the beginning, middle, or end. So that can be found at the end part of the fish. So let's claim that it is what the topic sentence, and you have there the two different color of fish can be considered as the transitional expressions. Okay, so for you not to forget exemplification and classification type of paragraph, always remember the image of the school of fish. And what does it tell us? The grouping of ideas after having their what? A topic sentence. So topic sentence, supporting details, transitional expressions. There might be concluding statement or concluding sentence or ending sentence, or it can be what? Written that way, wherein you have there the last discussion in the list that you have presented and under the classification part of your paragraph. Okay? So that would be all about exemplification and classification paragraph discussion. Okay? What's more, read the excerpt that follows. After reading it, make a short paragraph that has the same pattern of development. Be able to employ transitional expressions to make it effective. An excerpt from Appassionato. Passion is visceral. It stands outside the traditional thinking. It ignores conventions like distance, time, and social acceptance. It dares into uncharted waters. It is used to be primarily associated with romantic love. Today, thanks to authors like Tom Peters and Nancy Austin, a passion for excellence, passion's boundaries have been extended to embrace work, entrepreneurial endeavors, corporate success. So that paragraph is a good example of an exemplification paragraph wherein it has a topic sentence and supporting statements, supporting details. It has transitional expression today. So why it is an exemplification type of paragraph? You have there the topic sentence, passion is visceral, and you have the illustrations. How come passion is visceral? That it stands outside traditional thinking, it ignores conventions like distance, it dares into uncharted waters, it is used to be primarily associated with romantic love. Those are illustrations or examples how how come we can say passion is visceral as what is being said in the topic sentence? Okay, so let's continue. What I have learned. Reflect on what you have learned today by completing the diagram below. Use a separate sheet for your answer. Write inside a circle the most valuable learning that you gained from the lesson. So what we are going to write there would be, of course, the exemplification type of paragraph, wherein under it we are going to have the three basic parts, the topic sentence, the examples, and transitional expressions. Because we should always be reminded that an exemplification paragraph has three basic parts. Also, we will be enumerating there the examples of transitional devices under exemplification paragraph. Then we are going to have classification paragraph. We will have also topic sentence, but the topic sentence itself connotes or directs the reader that there will be a classification in the classification of ideas in the paragraph, in the supporting details of the paragraph. Just like what I mentioned earlier, instead of saying uh, pollution can be hazardous to humans like that, or the topic sentence of the given paragraph, then it can be written there the three types of pollutions, the three major types of pollutions, wherein the topic sentence communicates the idea of classification. And of course, as the one who's going to write the paragraph about the three major types of pollution, then see to it that in your supporting details you will be presenting the three types of pollutions and discuss them by providing examples of each. Okay, so going back to exemplification paragraph, the example about passion is visceral. So what do you have there? Topic sentence, passion is visceral. Then the body of it, the supporting details are all examples why passion is visceral. And of course, transitional expression. So the same thing under classification type of paragraph. You have your topic sentence, but the topic sentence communicates a classification of idea, and the supporting details will be really supporting the classification of idea, wherein the classification that is being presented in the topic sentence will be discussed in the supporting details of the paragraph. And of course, transitional expressions. Okay, the set of transitional expressions under classification. So if you have questions or clarifications, do not hesitate to send me a private message. Okay, so what I can do? Choose at least one from the situations below. Writing task 1. You are the editor-in-chief of your school's publication. The school paper advisor requires you to write a 2 to 3 paragraph opinion article about the COVID-19 pandemic for a special edition paper. You need to take side and be specific in explaining your point of view by proving clear examples and illustrations to support your arguments. Writing task 2. You are one of the business proprietors at your school's ongoing business expo. An interest an interested customer sent you an email asking about the different types of products you sell. You need to respond to the email in 2 to 3 paragraphs indicating the classification of your products. To encourage your customer to avail, your message must contain the product's category, specific features, and prices. Here is the rubric for your writing task. The criteria, paragraph structure, of course, you should have their topic sentence, supporting details, and conclusion. And do not forget the transitional expressions as well as observation of grammar and punctuation as you go on writing your paragraph. For the descriptions, you read them, then the total score would be 12 points. So check your Google Classroom, look for Google Form link regarding this activity. Additional activity, write an exemplification or classification paragraph or any subject or topic in your respective context or locality. Make sure to include a topic sentence, supporting details, conclusion, and transitional expressions in your written text. The same rubric will be used in assessing your output. So make it that good. This is your fourth paragraph that you are going to write. Okay? Check again the Google Classroom and look for the Google form link regarding this activity. Thank you. Have a good day and God bless us all.